Jeunesse. We are redefining youth.
Welcome to Longevity TV. I am William Amzalag and I am the Director of Product Science at Jeunesse. As you know, we are strongly dedicated to longevity and good health. Our line of products have been scientifically designed to reach those targets. Good science requires good and simple explanation. This is why we decided to break down all the information in small TV episodes, easy to read, to visualize, and finally to understand. Every week, you will find in our website one new episode to share with your friends, with your customers, with your downline. Take the time to look at, enjoy, and share with others.
Jeunesse. We are redefining youth.
Welcome to our first episode of the Jeunesse Longevity TV. We are Generation Young, and I am Generation Young. This claim seems at first quite arrogant and pretentious to use the word young when I am 72 years old. Meanwhile, you will find out that I am not the only one, and I will explain you why. Generation Young is a new way of life, a new vision of aging based on solid scientific evidence. Until recently, we were all convinced that aging was the direct result of accumulating years, and that death was the consequence of these added years on our organs, on our function, will become inefficient. It was what we call the chronological dogma, which allowed our society to divide life in chronological parts and to be able to decide at what age we should retire and when we become an old person. It has been proven today that aging has nothing to do with accumulated years, but it's a result of cells damage. It is inside this very, very small, amazing, and wonderful unit that our life and our longevity are treated. We have at least 60 trillion cells, which are almost identicals. And our ability to stay in life and in good health will depend entirely on the health status of our cells, of our nucleus, of our DNA, of our mitochondria, of our cell membrane. This new vision of life has drastically changed our vision of health. For us, for Generation Young, aging is the immediate consequence of cells damage, especially at the DNA level. But the most important aspect of this Generation Young is the strong belief that we are witnessing as actors and as spectators a fantastic technological tsunami. Genomics, gene therapy, stem cells, nanomedicine are going to deeply modify our relation with the entire world. Delaying aging and death will drastically improve thanks to what our scientists call NBIC convergence, which means synergy between nanomedicine, and biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science. Future changes will exceed in magnitude and in scale, and even in speed, all what humanity have witnesses in the past. Sequencing DNA, that is to say reading billions of information contained in our genetic makeup, will revolutionize medicine. Knowledge of the genetic characteristic of each of us will pave the way for personalized medicine. Just think about being able to heal every part of our body down to the cellular level. And very soon, nanotechnology will allow us to build and repair molecules. Yes, to repair molecules and even atoms. This is Generation Young, a generation which believes that today's science can go much farther than just treating disease or saving life. We want you to feel young as long as possible. We want to think young as long as possible. We want to love forever. And we want to be able to play with our grandchildren while fulfilling all our dreams. Jeunesse is one of the few companies looking to the future of technology to enhance longevity and health. Jeunesse's mission is to promote this new Generation Young by creating a system of product that makes all this possible. The YES system means Youth Enhancement System, will provide a line of product all oriented toward nutrition, DNA repair, and energy. We are Jeunesse, and we are Generation Young. Thank you. I have some good news for you. Every day, our life is extended by 6 hours more. Yes, 6 hours more, a 25% increase. Within 100 years, between 1900 and 2000, we jumped from 45 years average lifespan to almost 85 years. Why? Because we have a better health. But what means having a better health? This word health is so important for us that we really need to understand his meaning. You know, health has always been a major concern of all societies. The ancient Greeks believed that health was the result of a perfect physical balance. For the Indians, being healthy means being in harmony with nature. The ancient Chinese believed that health is a reflection of vital energy. They call it qi. The Western approach focused mainly on diseases and their treatment. And with this concept based on science and experimentation, millions of lives have been saved and life expectancy has increased drastically. This spectacular increase brought our society to a new way of thinking. Not anymore based on treating disease or on saving life, but more on quality of life. You know, for most people, health means no disease. I am not sick, so I am healthy. This is wrong. All chronic diseases take years to become detectable. And it is our genes, our potential overweight, our eating habits, our physical, mental, and emotional condition that will affect in a positive or negative way our health status. But this is not enough to really define health. Scientists need one more criteria. How quantifying health? How defining specific criteria that will allow us to say, I am healthy, or I am in very good health, or I am in a perfect health. To quantify health, scientists have approached the problem in another way. They study how our body should react when subjected to changes or to stress. They were looking for our ability to return to normal and how fast we can do it after change or after stress. They call this ability homeostasis. Homeostasis is defined as the ability for our body to maintain a state of stability despite the constant changes within his environment. This is a scientific definition. But in order to understand this fundamental concept, let our imagination wander. Let's suppose that we all born on a steel cable stretched between two tower buildings. Our parents and their parents were acrobats and lived permanently 24 hours a day on this cable. To avoid falling, they must constantly reach a dynamic balance, which will involve not only hundreds of muscles in their body, but also all their functions and their five senses. Their brain will evaluate their strategic choices, and their emotions should be managed if danger threatens them. And this is permanent, 24 hours a day with no break. This is homeostasis. Life is an ongoing battle between two opposite but complementary forces. On one hand, we have activating forces which facilitate biochemical reaction, stimulate energy expenditure. And on the other hand, we have sleeping forces which will slow down all biochemical reaction and energy expenditure. The objective is to reach a state of alternation between rest and activity. Homeostasis is the appropriate response to permanent change. And permanent change is the core of life. Our body is faced with thousands of changes per second and quickly regain its balance. Losing this adaptability will lead to diseases and to aging. So finally, how can we define health? Health today is defined by the adaptability of our body to permanent change. This adaptability is achieved through a complex but coherent organizational system, which will result in a dynamic but constantly challenged equilibrium. This progressive decline of this delicate balance will lead to the slowdown of our body performance and consequently to the onset of diseases, including aging. Jeunesse understands the importance of homeostasis, and it's targeting every product on its ability to contribute in re-establishing the balance. For instance, Reserve will help DNA to repair, counterbalancing DNA damage. Finity will contribute to re-lengthen telomeres to counterbalance telomere shortening. This is Generation Young. Today, scientific knowledge about aging is proceeding exponentially. And our scientists are coming now with solid evidence of the cause of aging. The first conclusion is that chronological age, the one which we celebrate every year, is not valid anymore. Aging do not depend on accumulating years. The second evidence is that our potential longevity, our chance to live longer, is located within our cells, and especially in our DNA. So what is going on in our DNA? Our DNA is damaged every day. Several 100,000 times a day. Yes, several 100,000 times. As I told you in my previous episode, life is a balance between degradation and restoration. And DNA is permanently engaged in this battle against destroying forces, which include oxidation, inflammation, and glycation. By the way, glycation is a very bad chemical reaction due to sugar consumption. Simultaneously, DNA is also dealing with external threats, environmental toxin, pollution, and bad lifestyle. The DNA integrity of our 60 trillion cells will depend entirely on the end result of the battle between damage forces and maintenance service, which will try to repair those damages. Fortunately, our body is miraculously designed to defend us from any attacks. At every level, we have specific ways of minimizing, avoiding, replacing, and repairing damages. So why are we aging if our maintenance service is perfect? Well, this is true until the age of 40. After 40, maintenance service mechanisms are insufficient to repair all the damages. To understand why the damages are affecting our life, you have to know that every time a cell divides into two cells, DNA does the same. The process is very complex, but it allows DNA to be read and to be photocopied. But DNA contains genes which are responsible for manufacturing proteins, and proteins are essential to life. When copying is bad, some sequences are forgotten. There is a genetic mutation that may be responsible for poor workmanship proteins. Bad proteins are linked with diseases and premature aging. This is one of the reasons why we are aging and why we get chronic diseases like Alzheimer's, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or cancer. Unfortunately, DNA damage is not the only reason for aging. As we get older, these cells will also lose their ability to multiply, and this is mainly due to the shortening of telomeres, which no longer protect the chromosomes. After 50 to 60 replication, there are no more telomeres, no more protection. At this stage, they can no longer reproduce themselves, and they will go to what we call a retirement-like state in which they die or no longer divide. And then a third actor completes the trilogy of aging. It is the stem cells which are essential for the renewal and the maintenance of cells. These stem cells cannot do their job. If their DNA is severely damaged and telomere shortened, then our stock of stem cells will then shorten further, exacerbating the situation. In short, there is no single cause of aging. Aging is a result of multiple attacks on DNA, linked with progressive telomere shortening, reducing drastically the number of functional cells. And the gradual decline in human cells and in stem cells will lead to chronic diseases, including cancer. Old age is responsible for most diseases. But we believe, in fact, that old age is actually a disease which has many faces. The belief that aging is a way of no return programmed by evolution is simply wrong. Aging is a disease. And just as we do with other diseases, we will create new technology to cure it. Dionys understands the trilogy of aging and will act accordingly. We design products like Reserve, helping DNA repair, Finity, helping re-lengthening telomeres by activating telomerase, Luminous Serum using growth factors as a byproduct from stem cells. And we are educating our consumers on improving their lifestyle. Because guess what? Lifestyle intervention slow down aging. It is a proven fact. To be born is not a crime. So why should we be all sentenced to death? Is death inevitable? Well, you may be surprised to learn that aging and death has not existed forever. 4.5 billion years ago, a single cell came into existence. This single cell did not age. It had the capacity to divide indefinitely. But 3 billion years after, some of the cells started to form organisms such as worms, fish, and finally humans. However, the cells were aging, and their ability to reproduce indefinitely came to an end. And today we know why. Those cells, we call them somatic cells, contain a gene that controls the production of telomerase. And this gene was and still is turned off. Without the ability to produce telomerase, the telomeres will become shortened and cells will die. So why there is so much discrepancies in longevity between human and other animals? Let me give you some examples. Have you heard about George? George is an American lobster which was born in 1869 and is now 140 years old. He was a sort of mascot in a New York restaurant and got released in the ocean in 2010. He's probably still alive. How come? Are lobsters immortal? Not exactly. But they do not die of old age because their telomerase is constantly turned on. So the cells do not die. However, they are sensitive to infection in their shell and they may die from this disease. In Japan, koi fish are known to live very long. They are beautiful fish, usually white with red spot. Some have been given names, and the most famous fish, Hanako, who died in July 1977, was 226 years old. Some turtles also live very long, and one of them, Adwaita, from Seychelles, has lived nearly 250 years. There are even some species which has indefinite longevity, like the bacteria called Arthrobacter, who can be dormant for thousands of years and suddenly wake up. Hydra is the most unique species defying death. When part of his body is cut off, the body regenerates in 2 or 3 days. Hydra will be potentially immortal because it contains stem cells. In case of injury, the stem cells differentiate to form the missing cells and rebuild the missing part. If some animals can have indefinite longevity, why should we be sentenced to death? In other words, do we currently have the knowledge and the technology to live forever? At this precise moment, the answer is no. But here is what we do know. We can already reverse aging in human cells. What we don't know for sure is whether we can reverse aging in you or in me. We can drastically slow down diseases and the aging process far more than people realize. But we don't have yet the magic bullet to extend forever human life. So what it will take to keep us alive long enough? In jeunesse, our generation young believe that we can live enough to live forever, which means that we design temporary solutions as DNA repair, telomerase activation, and stem cell support in order to still be here and still around to benefit from another Nobel Prize scientist, which may give us another solution for the next 20 years. That will give us time to wait for the next discovery, and so on. Yes, immortality is just around the corner. My name is Wiliam Amzalag, and I am Generation Young. See you at the next episode. Thank you.
Jeunesse. We are redefining youth.